Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Airspeed Reads Naruto video. This one is going to be for volume 43 of the manga, which is called The Man with the Truth. First thing to say about this volume, it is a really thick volume. Much bigger than all of the other ones. I don't know if this is the case with any of the other volumes within the series, but there is a lot to this one. For example, obviously next time out we're going to be doing volume 44. Here is kind of a size comparison. You can't really see it too well there, but especially if you look at it there, kind of spine to spine, you can really see how thicker the Itachi Sasuke volume is. It's actually 3 chapters longer than any of the other ones. This is a 13 chapter volume, and there's even a note about this from Kishimoto on the opening page there. Probably can't read it, so I'll just read it out. He says, "Please forgive me, 450 yen with tax. I truly apologize for this affront. I had decided that this 241 pages was the right number of pages to bring you, the readers, the Sasuke versus Itachi arc. But this resulted in the price of the Takobon graphic novel going up, for which I feel absolutely terrible. This volume is also a bit thicker, but I do hope that you read it to the very end." So, one of those things where, like, he, as a writer, basically just chose that, like, I want all of these chapters to be in one book, because I think it's important to get all of this out in kind of one shot to the people who are going to read it in kind of obviously the volume format. And I definitely respect that decision. Look, it's going to make this volume a bit bigger, but it also kind of saves some money to some degree in that, like, by the end of this it's a 72 volume series. You know, it could have been 73. There could have been an extra volume added in if he had chose to kind of separate this at the 10 volume mark, like the 10 chapter mark like usual. So it's like, okay, bit of a thicker one, you're paying a little bit more, but you know, it would have just led to another volume which would have been even more expensive, so I don't think it's too bad. We covered chapter 390 to 402, the final jutsu, Thunderclap, Susanoo, My Eyes, Sasuke's Victory, The Mystery of Tobi, Self-Intro, The Man with the Truth, The Origin of Konoha, How It All Begins, Living a Nightmare, Illusions, and Final Words. So tons of stuff happens in this one. But fundamentally it comes down to 3 key aspects. There is the conclusion of the Itachi Sasuke fight. There is a chapter focusing on Tobi, Naruto, and that whole stuff that's happening. And then it is Tobi, Madara, whatever you want to call him, explaining the truth about Itachi to Sasuke immediately after the fight. That changes, informs Sasuke's opinion, and basically gives him his drive, his goal for at least the next arc, the rest of the series. That now that he has accomplished his goal from the start of the series to kill that one person, Itachi, if he accomplishes it, what's next for him? We have no idea what his plans were after that, but now we get what those plans are. So that is why this is so important, because it takes, you know, 6-7 chapters of explaining what Itachi did to inform Sasuke enough to give him the next path of his next stage of his journey. So it's so big I'm not going to be able to go through it the way I usually do, hence why I don't have any of the pages marked here. I just read it and took a few notes, and that's what I'm going to do here. So it's going to be much more of a discussion rather than showing off like every pages and stuff like that. So let's start with the fight. I'm going to cover this quite quickly because the reveal stuff, there's so much more to talk about with the reveal stuff. I like the fight, how it was done in the manga. I do think there were occasions where some of the big attacks didn't feel like they were given as much like art focus as they perhaps should have been. Kirin especially didn't feel like there was a ton of focus put on it from an artistic standpoint. It was just like, okay, here's roughly what the attack looks like, and then wide shot, explosions. I would have liked to have seen more of the kind of actual attack, because I felt like there was much better art shown for the Dragon Flame Jutsu as opposed to this one. There was the Susanoo, like that's the debut of the Susanoo. It was cool to see, but I didn't feel like the art was particularly impressive. I think it gets much better as the series progresses. This as an opening showcase was okay, but obviously it was a very injured, on the verge of death Itachi using it, so maybe that's why it didn't look the best. But still, just some of the things you can tell that this was such a big fight that there was a lot of important art things to execute, and not all of it came across the best. So I would overall say that I think the anime did the fight better, but it's still, I think the manga did a good job. So effectively the fight, how it happens is Itachi uses Susanoo, Sasuke blocks it by using Orochimaru's snake substitution. He fights back with Dragon Flame Jutsu after using his curse mark, and then sets up his huge attack, which is this ultimate lightning attack called Kirin. And this is the attack he was going to use against Naruto when Naruto, Sasuke, Sai, and Yamato met him for the first time a couple of volumes ago. But here he actually goes to use it. He uses it enhanced by the fact that he shot his fire up into the clouds to basically give them more energy, make the electricity in the sky even more impactful. And so even though he didn't have a ton of chakra, all he had to do was guide down the lightning that was already in the sky. So he kind of uses a nature assisted attack to hit Itachi hard. Itachi does get hit by this, but he blocks most of it using Susanoo, which is revealed to be the Mangekyo Sharingan power where you use both of the eyes at the same time. So they already set up that, like, for Itachi, one of his eyes was the Tsukiyomi, one of them was the Amaterasu, both of them together are the Susanoo, which is this giant kind of armor, energy armor that you can create over yourself that is very, very powerful. This is when the fight switches to Orochimaru. His presence within Sasuke begins to take over, seeing that Sasuke has no chakra, and immediately the fight changes, and Itachi is like, finally, this moment is happening, and he suddenly takes out a special weapon as part of the Susanoo, and basically severs Sasuke's connection to Orochimaru, and basically it looks like for all time has defeated Orochimaru by sealing him away in this Totsuka blade. After this, Itachi is revealed to kind of have this illness. He starts coughing up blood. That's not just the fact that he's kind of losing his eyesight with the Mangekyo. So this is a separate illness that is kind of something to do with his lungs or something potentially. But he still can block all of Sasuke's attacks using this other weapon that he has, the Yata mirror. And we end the fight with basically just Sasuke out of power, Itachi still having the Susanoo up and looking like he's about to win the fight, but goes up, is about to kind of take Sasuke's eye out, but then does the finger poke on the forehead instead and collapses to the ground. Sasuke has won the fight and Itachi is dead. And that's kind of the gist of how we end it. Sasuke falls down beside his dead brother, exhausted after the fight, having accomplished the goal that he set out to do at the start of the series. It's a very powerful scene how it happens, and obviously it was kind of, to some extent, you get the impression that it was nothing like Sasuke perhaps expected. He always envisioned like how he would feel after it, but now that he's actually accomplished it, how does he actually feel? It's a big moment. And so they cut away from that into the middle part of the story, which is what Tobi's doing. So Tobi's obviously been messing around with Naruto and co, tricking them with his power to like phase through attacks and stuff like that. They basically figured this out, that that's what Tobi's power is, and that he can transfer parts of his body to like a different dimension to dodge attacks. It's not that he just makes himself intangible, it's that literally he makes part of himself go away from the world that they're currently in, and that's why people phase through him. Then the other reveal that happens here is that Kakashi definitely makes a big note of the fact that Tobi has a Sharingan, and they almost, I think, maybe go a little too far here as to point out a certain symbolism between Kakashi and Tobi, in that they kind of do the whole thing of like, one has a Sharingan on this side that we can see, one has a Sharingan on this side that we can see, and they make note of each other. Is it super obvious? Not really, I don't think so, because I don't think they've done anything huge to present the idea that this could be Kakashi's old friend Obito just yet. There's, obviously the thing of just they have the Sharingan on both sides, but I don't think you can instantly say like that 100% that's Obito, just because of how they present the whole idea of Madara here, and especially with what they do in this volume with the backstory of Madara, that you definitely believe that that is the case, and he just for some reason wears a weird looking mask. But they definitely have Kakashi note that this guy has a Sharingan. What happens then is Zetsu arrives in, informs Tobi and everyone else, including Naruto and Sakura, Kakashi, Itachi is dead, Sasuke has killed him. And it's this huge moment for them because this has been everything that's defined Sasuke for the last while. He left them to do this, to accomplish this, to learn from Orochimaru and eventually become powerful enough to defeat Itachi. That's why he left. Now that he's accomplished that, it's a sense of like, oh, he finally did this. How does he feel? They're kind of worried about him. Is he injured after the fight? Whatever. Because they do find out that like he was injured after the fight. But also like they're kind of questioning, does that mean he's coming back to us? Like, now that he's done this, what's next for him? Is he just going to remain the way he is? Or what? Like, he's kind of hurt some of us, so he is still sort of a criminal, but what? There's a lot of thinking going on here, but basically what happens after that is it's a race between Tobi versus the Konoha ninjas to get to the site of the fight, to get to Sasuke first. Tobi gets there first, of course, because he can just teleport himself using his dimension traveling jutsu thing. So he gets there, they've cleared out, and by the time Naruto arrives, everything's gone. There's a faint sense that he was there, but everything's gone fundamentally, and it's another moment for Naruto where they've come close to getting Sasuke, but they've just come up short. And so that's when we cut away from the Naruto side of the story, that he's already dealing with a lot, knowing that he just missed out on Sasuke having come so close, and knowing that this is the point in time where they could get Sasuke back, that he's accomplished what he needs to. If they get there first, they could influence him enough to bring him back. And all the time in the background, Naruto is still not aware that Jiraiya is dead. So there's a lot of hurt coming for Naruto, and that's like a big setup for like, wow, he's already disappointed with the loss, with not missing out on Sasuke. He is going to be ruined when he finds out what happened to Jiraiya. So that's the big kind of setup on Naruto's side going forward. But the rest of the volume is Tobi explaining to Sasuke the truth behind Itachi, plus a bunch of other stuff. Like, there's so many reveals in these chapters, and it's these chapters which is why I think Kishimoto wanted to extend this. Where we end off in this volume is like a perfect leave-off point going forward, in that we end with literally Sasuke stating what his goal is now that he knows the truth about Itachi, and what he wants to do next. And the lead up to that is fascinating because, first of all, immediately Tobi reveals the Sharingan to get Sasuke to trust him. That activates Amaterasu within Sasuke, and Tobi later explains that, oh, the last time he touched you, he must have transferred his power over to you as a way to silence me because he didn't want anyone to know about the truth. The truth is that Itachi did everything in his life to protect you. That he is a good guy, basically. That's the reveal from Tobi, effectively. That everything he did was in service of making the shinobi world a better place, protecting the Leaf Village, and most importantly, protecting you, Sasuke. And this is a shocking thing to state because this is an event that has kind of defined Sasuke's life. He's on this path for revenge. He's on this quest to make himself more powerful. Everything he's done, with his like sacrificing his friends and stuff like that, has been because of what Itachi kind of did and said to him. And the idea that you're saying that he's now a good guy, that he did this to protect me, like, are you serious? You need a better explanation than that to like make me convinced. And it takes quite the story to convince him, but it does. And the story is effectively they go back and tell the whole thing of all the way back with the Uchiha. They go back as far as Madara and Hashirama 80 years ago, the formation of the Leaf Village, the issues between Madara and Hashirama over who's going to become the first Hokage, and how Hashirama's the first Hokage. Everyone snubbed Madara. He left, came back, waged war against them. That's when the big Hashirama-Madara fight happened. Hashirama won. Madara was assumed dead, but somehow sneakily managed to make his way out of that fight while still convincing everyone he was dead. We don't get the details on how exactly that went down. We do much later on in the series, I believe. From there, we kind of get the whole idea of like, after that, there was all these wars in the past between Uchiha and Senju, but the Leaf Village primarily brought people together. There was only a slight issue over the fact that the Uchiha always felt like they weren't really given a chance to ever become the leaders of the village, and there was always a slight issue there, but nothing huge. That over time, there was an okay trust between them, and there was only a slight rift. But what really created the rift was the Ninetales attack, and when that happened, they established that the Ninetales attack was the reason that really caused the Uchiha to kind of remember everything that's come before, and further create a rift between them and the village, because the Ninetales attack, obviously, that's one of the key events that starts the series, pretty much, as far as we're aware. And it's also revealed to be that the case that the only way you can control a tail beast is effectively by using the Sharingan. So that's why the Leaf Village became suspicious of the Uchiha clan, and kind of further segregated them from the village. And this is where Sasuke and Itachi's father really promoted this idea that the Uchiha should try and gain power in the village. That they have all this power, we're being separated from the village because of our power, why don't we use that power and take over the village? They planned a coup d'etat, and this is where Itachi comes into play. Itachi was basically a village spy against the Uchiha. He basically gave information to the Hokage, Danzo, and so on, the elders, about what the Uchiha clan was planning. But he also played like he was spying on the village for the Uchiha, that he was feeding information from the Anbu into the Uchiha clan, but it was actually the other way around. He was always loyal to the village and never really cared too much about the kind of somewhat petty reasons for why the Uchiha wanted to become powerful within the village. He always saw the village as coming first, and that's a fascinating aspect to add to his character here, that for Itachi, this villainous character who's been part of the Akatsuki and has done all these things, that seems like one of the cruelest characters in the show because of what he did to Sasuke, is suddenly like one of the most caring characters in terms of he did everything, sacrificed all this stuff for Sasuke, for the Leaf Village, and for the Shinobi world. And finding this out now, it's kind of fascinating that he's just died, but we learned all of this stuff about him at this stage. And obviously, continuing with the story, this is basically where the mission is presented to Itachi. Kill the entire Uchiha clan. That's the only way we can solve this, is by eliminating the threat to the village. You have to make a choice, your clan or the village. Are you going to side with your clan and take over the village and basically just have your clan be the village? Or are you going to side with the village against your clan, that this one group of people is trying to kind of ruin everything we have here because they feel they want more power? Itachi agrees. It's a obviously tragic thing, shocking that he has to do this, but it seems to be the only way to accomplish this. They kind of established that Tobi was trying to heal the rift between them, but nothing was happening, and eventually this kind of final act had to go down. But Itachi didn't accomplish this alone. He had Madara help. And they also establish here that in having Itachi bring Madara in, he basically made a deal with him. I will allow you to help me on this mission to kill the entire Uchiha clan, so you can get your revenge against the Uchiha clan for not supporting you in your bid to become the first Hokage, if you don't attack the Leaf Village. So that's kind of part of the deal. And from there, what happens is they accomplish this, and that's when the big events happen. Obviously, Itachi is the one to personally like kill his parents, and kill most of the people close to Sasuke. But in the background, I suppose killing most of the more powerful, high-level Uchiha, it is Madara there. Just establishing that as powerful as Itachi is, he definitely couldn't accomplish that on his own, and he did get some help. But it's obviously like there's so many big reveals one after the other. Like just the reveal that the Leaf Village, even if it was Donzo and the Elders and not Saratobi who ordered it, just the fact that the Leaf Village did order this mission to be executed, as much as it was ultimately to protect the village, like sacrificing one over the whole. It's not something you expect from this village, which has overall been presented as like the best, the kind of most morally good kind of the villages. Yeah, and then we get like in I suppose the explanation behind why Itachi approached basically sending Sasuke on a mission for revenge over the rest of his life. Why this person he cared about so much, he chose to kind of torture in this way and like force him to get stronger and into this fight. That from his perspective, knowing that he would have to sacrifice himself and become part of the Akatsuki and so on, he felt that the only way to make Sasuke strong enough so that he was able to protect himself would be to give him a target like so big that he would be relentless in pursuing it and becoming more powerful to get to that stage. And that was obviously the quest for revenge against Itachi because of what he did. It's obviously a very tragic thing. It ultimately is a big moment that kind of hurt Itachi, and you can see how emotional he was about it. But it fundamentally is that big of a moment, and that's the way he chose to go about it. And it's definitely a case of like ultimately like yes, he did do all he could, sacrificed all this stuff, but did he necessarily do it all in the best way? There are definitely some questions you can have about that, but still, the way he approached it was the way he felt was the only way to really do this at that point in time. And then, like, his ultimate plan was that in the end, Sasuke would become as powerful as Itachi. He would kill the criminal Itachi and effectively become the hero of the Leaf Village because he killed someone who was such a traitor to the village. And he basically just gave him this story where he could become a hero, powerful and a hero. But just the fact that Tobi is telling Sasuke this is kind of presenting more of a kind of reason for like this quest for revenge is now going to continue, and where is Sasuke going to aim that at? Now that he knows this full story, knows the truth that his brother was never really evil as such. Yes, he killed their parents, but it was for this other reason. Where is Sasuke going to aim that? And ultimately, he aims it at the Leaf Village. At the end, he decides that he is going to destroy the Leaf Village. With his team, no longer called the Hebi, now called Team Taka, they are going to assault the Leaf Village because he blames the Leaf Village for basically doing this to his brother. That the village told Itachi to kill the clan and make all of this stuff happen that effectively made Sasuke's life the way it is. And he's doing this to get revenge for his brother and to some extent for himself. And now obviously Itachi didn't want this at all. He wouldn't want Sasuke trying to get revenge for him because Itachi cared for the Leaf Village, but this is the way Sasuke is feeling about this because of all of this. So it's kind of like Itachi's plan is kind of backfired, but you know that deep down Tobi wanted this to happen. This is why Itachi tried to kill Tobi with the Amaterasu. It's because he knew that Tobi would try to like aim Sasuke at something, and this is what's gone down. Because the only real lie that Tobi tells over the course of this story is that he says that the Uchiha, I can confirm, had no involvement in the Ninetales attack. Whereas once we get the reveal, we know that he directly was the one who summoned the Ninetales there. He led that attack, which obviously basically broke his... oh wait, no, that happens before that. No. So yeah, we know that that happened. So it's one of those things where like technically that means that's probably something Itachi didn't know. Itachi didn't know that that attack was caused by Tobi, and so that's why he would make a deal with him later to never attack the Leaf Village after that point. But that is the key lie that he tells, because without that, without that attack, the Uchiha would never have become more suspicious. Things would have gone fine between the Uchihas and everyone else, and there'd be no reason for Itachi to have done what he did. There'd be no reason for Sasuke to now do what he's planning to do. It was purely the action of Tobi Madara at that point in time, executing that attack, that caused all of these events to kind of chain together the way they are now. And he's carefully, very selectively, told him the one lie over the course of the story that changes the context of like who is really at fault for all of this. And in reality, the true evil one behind all of this is, of course, Tobi Madara, and not the Leaf Village as being ultimately like culpable for all of this. But still, the Leaf Village making that decision, is it right? Let a coup d'etat play out, or stop it from happening before it does happen? It's obviously your choice about like what way you interpret like what's correct and what's not, but that's the way it is. The other thing we get just prior to Sasuke making his decision is basically what Itachi's final words were to Sasuke. As he poked him on the forehead, giving him the Amaterasu, what did he say to him? And what it is that he said was, "Sorry Sasuke, this is it." And we get the setup for this with basically Sasuke remembering all of the times that Itachi always came up to him and said, like, Sasuke would always ask him, help me do this training, shuriken training, play with me or whatever, and Itachi would always say, sorry Sasuke, some other time. Sorry Sasuke, some other time we'll do this, we'll do that. He always put it off. And finally, in this last moment, he says, sorry Sasuke, this is it. This is the last time. This is the last bit of information I'm going to impart on you. The Amaterasu. This is the last time we'll see each other. And it's a really kind of tragic moment, but there's something so nice about like just seeing a smile on Itachi at this point in time, that like he's kind of happy to see that his brother has got to this level and that he can kind of die knowing that as far as he can make out, his plan has worked. From here on out, Sasuke will be a hero, having defeated this villain, and things can maybe go back to normal. But not knowing that Tobi would tell the story, influence Sasuke, and Sasuke would want to take revenge against the Leaf Village. The absolute last thing that we get, the death of Itachi has awoken the Mangekyo Sharingan within Sasuke, and we get the reveal of that right there. His pattern is very, very cool looking as he plans to destroy Konoha. So yeah, like overall, absolutely fascinating volume, learning so much about Itachi, learning so much about the events behind what drives Sasuke as a character. Like it's not just as simple as for power. Like what we knew before was basically Itachi killed his clan to prove how powerful he was, saw Sasuke as the only one who could potentially get to his power level, so basically put Sasuke on this revenge path to become as powerful as him. They would then fight it out to see who was the most powerful. If Itachi won, he could steal the eyes of Sasuke to become even more powerful. If Sasuke won, Sasuke's more powerful. But the reveal that this was all fundamentally to protect the Leaf Village, to protect Sasuke, to basically just give him power so that he could protect himself from anything, and how much Itachi actually cared about everything else, and that he was kind of forced into some of these situations. He wasn't just a villain in any way. It was just that he made some tough decisions that maybe everyone wouldn't agree with, but this was the choice he made and was kind of forced to in certain situations. That he put his loyalty to the village ahead of his loyalty to the clan because he fundamentally didn't agree with them being so kind of petty over their issues with the village. Just amazing how it played out, that you have one of your main characters accomplish their goal, killing the person, getting revenge on that person, and it's like we always knew that that was a kind of dark goal for Sasuke to want to accomplish, wanting to, kill someone. But it was such a kind of dramatic moment and such a kind of bad thing that Itachi did to Sasuke that you kind of understood it, but you were always wondering how would he approach after that? What would Sasuke do once he accomplished his goals? Would the revenge take over and he'd still want revenge against something else, like what happens here? Or would he just go back to his friends? And finding out now, like getting to the point now where he'd accomplished all that, immediately Tobi swoops in, tells him the story that he wasn't meant to know, and Sasuke's on this other path now. It's amazing how well done this was. I think this is definitely some of the best written stuff that Naruto has had so far. You can tell, I think, just by the writer's kind of the writer wanting to have all of these chapters in this volume, regardless of how thick it was, that he wanted these chapters to be told all together. So telling. But yeah, that's the review for 43. I'm not going to go on too much longer. It's a huge volume. This is probably going to end up being one of the longer videos in this series. So I'm just going to end it there by saying thanks for watching, and bye.